Hello, this is Against Free-Range / Pasture-Raised Food Animals, Group 7 for Animals in Society.
Welcome to our presentation. My name is Ashley, and today I will begin with the history and background on free-range / pasture-raised food animals. The concept of free range began way back at the end of the Civil War when price on beef was very high in northern states along with Texas. Cattle were able to roam and graze on public domain with no cost to the farmers, which meant that farmers saw a better opportunity in grazing cattle than in raising or growing anything else. This also meant that there was a lot of people that were interested in this concept. But sadly, in the winter of 1886 through 1887, there was a huge blizzard that struck the plains where thousands of cattle were grazing on free range. This meant that there was no protection for the cattle from the savage blizzard, which meant that there was also thousands of cattle that died. Owners and farmers filed for bankruptcy. This is when they saw that it was a better and smarter idea to make shelters and fences so that their cattle were able to be protected. At this moment, free range did not seem ideal for thousands of people because a lot of their cattle were dying. This is also when pens and places where they could be closely observed were made.
Hello everyone, my name is Maura Cortez, and today I'll be introducing the sociological importance of caged animals. Raising animals in cages is economically better for the consumer than free-range animals because the meat product is cheaper and people tend to buy more cheap product than expensive product. It is not complicated for the farmers when the animals are locked in cages. When farm animals are locked in cages, meat production lasts longer and there is more meat for more people. Farmers who produce more meat production tend to get more profit, and when animals are kept in cages, it gives them more space to put animals in. And this is actually beneficial to the farmers because the more animals they have, the more meat product they have, and the more money they get. Caging farm animals ensures a faster meat production all year long. And as you can see to the right hand of the screen, there's a pig that's in a cage. And I also provided cows that are in cages. Cage animals are injected with growth hormones and steroids in order for them to grow within a few weeks, even days. Farmers have different varieties of meat product because different types of hens are kept in the same cage, which result in different breeds of chickens. Farmers are more likely to win more profit with caged animals since they are cheaper, which make people tip the farmer a little more. Cheap meat production is beneficial to local residents because factory-raised animals are cheaper than pasture-raised. And to the top right-hand corner, I added a picture of hens that are in cages.
Hello, my name is Shannon, and I will be continuing with the ethical aspects for against free-range food animals. So to begin with, it is more expensive. Due to the fact that it takes longer for grass-fed animals like cattle to reach the desired weight to be slaughtered, this means that they live longer and need to be taken care of for a longer period of time. They also tend to be smaller, so they produce less meat than normal grain-fed cattle would. So in these ways, it can cost the farmer more to care for these animals adequately. It is also not as sustainable. One of the main reasons why people want to switch to grass-fed beef, it's because they believe it to be more healthy and better for the environment. So that can lead people to wonder, why not just switch to all beef or animals to grass-fed? It's because it's not sustainable. The available grassland resources that we currently have only supports about 27% of the national beef supply, meaning it is not enough to support 100% of it. If we were to allow these animals like cattle to go on land used to raise crops, well then it would be able to support about 61% of it. However, this would lead to competition for these croplands used for human food consumption. It also affects the environment. Again, one of the main factors of why people are for pasture-raised cattle is because they believe it to be healthier for the environment. But there are still ways that it can have negative effects. These cattle produce more methane than grain-fed cattle because they live longer than they do. And what methane is, it is a greenhouse gas that is 21 times more potent than carbon dioxide. And what greenhouse gases are, they are gases that are present in the Earth's atmosphere that can trap heat. Also, according to the Director of Conservation, Food, Agriculture for the Oakland, Cali-based Breakthrough Institute, there is not enough evidence to support the claim that pasture-raised cattle emit less carbon enough to be more sustainable than feedlot beef. It is also not as healthy as people have come to believe. While grass-fed cattle technically do have higher concentrations of some nutrients compared to grain-fed cattle such as antioxidants, some vitamins, ACL, and more omega-3 fatty acids, and overall less fat, but the amount and difference compared to grain-fed cattle are not as all that significant. People also want to eat more grass-fed animals and have cattle moved to grass-fed because they believe it to be healthier. While in some ways it is healthier and better for you, it is only by a little bit. It's not as healthy as people have come to believe, and people shouldn't go overboard with believing they need to eat more grass-fed beef because it's way better for them. The perception some people have that grass-fed cattle are way better for you than grain-fed can lead to an overconsumption of it.
Hello, my name is Olivia Setlak, and I'll further be discussing ethical aspects. Another thing to consider is location and weather. So, where the animal maybe originated from is actually probably different than, say, for example, California's valley. This has more effects on the animal than some may realize. An example of why this might be a problem is temperatures affecting poultry. So, poultry are raised in temperature controlled barns because if the temperature is too hot or too cold, issues with production will most likely happen and even can result into death. Another issue is if there is not enough grass or nutrients on the land, which weather can affect this, and right now we're seeing that because of California's drought, not getting enough rain. Lastly is if a farm grows their own source of food. Shown to the bottom right, we have a picture of most likely would be corn silage. And this is usually fed to dairy cattle, and farmers need a place to be able to store their food on the land, and sometimes it can take up too much space, so land might be an issue for them as well, so location. We have a picture of some Holsteins eating their ration, and then here in the middle we have broiler chickens in their temperature-controlled barn. Next up, we have diseases and risks. So it is easier to control with having hospital pens, and you normally conventional farms will have these hospital pens so that farmers or farm managers can take care of the animals and look after them and have them isolated from the rest of the herd. Alongside with this, use of vaccines and medication are really important to be able to control the herd or flock's health. Shown here, we have a picture of the Salmonella vaccine, also known as Megan Vat 1. This is used for both broilers and laying hens and for poultry. And then also with having more of like corrals and pens, it's easier to test for diseases. Normally, farms should be testing or culturing for diseases to see if there's anything in their herd and just do more of like a health maintenance thing. And then also with having enclosed areas for animals, it's easier to protect livestock from predators, and even could be dogs too. And there's an example of this with a coyote going after a sheep right there at the bottom. And then lastly, animals can get into toxic materials if not kept enclosed, but also more of this, it could be neighbors who might not be fond of the livestock and might possibly poison them.
Hello, my name is Macy Stowers, and today I'll be talking about current events for against free-range livestock. Free-range fowl and other livestock have been a popular topic in the last few years. However, there are cons and concerns against why not to have free-range livestock. The cons of free-range livestock. Number one, there's no supervision for the livestock in question. They can wander, they are out and about doing as they please, and they can really get themselves into a lot of trouble. They easily could find their way into any sort of riverbank where they could drown. Predators are abundant in certain areas and could easily be picked up by one of them. Biosecurity has been a big problem throughout the years. As flock members or herd members walk away and come back, they could be bringing back any number of parasites and different diseases with them that they could be picking up from anything such as anything as small as a squirrel to as big as a coyote or a dog. You just never know what could be out there and what they could be picking up and what they could be getting themselves into and bringing that out to the herd, which bringing that back could really just decimate a herd really quickly. Another big issue could be being picked up by predators. Coyotes are a huge problem. They easily are smart enough and able to have the means to go in and take free range different fowls such as chickens, turkeys, and ducks. They really have to be kept in a good confined area to be safe from these kind of predators. As you see in the bottom photo, coyote easily picking off a chicken. Last year, the livestock loss was more than $3.8 million. That was mostly accounted for cattle and calves. The numbers are a little more unknown for goats and sheep, but they are on the higher end of the millions. The biggest problem actually is not wild animals. It's actually feral dogs or even pet dogs who pack up and kill livestock because they're not killing for the means of survival. They're actually killing just for sport. So that has been a huge problem in the last 20, 30 years, just trying to keep feral dogs away from different livestock groups and herd animals. Following that, another big issue has been free roaming livestock. As talked about before, there are free roaming states where the animals do have the legal ability to go and roam as they please, but this only protects the farmer, not the owner of the animal, and it does not prevent the animal in question. And you can see in the bottom photo, that is a totaled little gray car with a dead cow behind it because they couldn't see the cow going around the corner, and luckily everyone in the car was all right with that story, but the cow unfortunately lost its life along with the car being totaled. There are over 100 deaths a year with roaming livestock and vehicle accidents just because the animals are in the road and people are having to swerve to get out of their way. 87% of these accidents end with the livestock dying along with the vehicle being totaled. Just more loss that didn't need to happen. People's cars being ruined, animals losing their lives, things that don't need to happen just because animals are out roaming around as they please and not being kept where they should be and penned up together and being kept as they should. Takes away time from local law enforcement because they have to go out and move livestock out of traffic. As you can see in the bottom photo, these two cops had to go and wrangle this goat who had been running through the streets for who knows how long, causing different types of accidents and car crashes. But just really overall, it's more of a hassle and a safety concern to have these animals out and roaming around instead of having them penned and kept on the properties that they should be. Overall, it's just really unsafe to raise livestock this way, and the loss prevention is there by keeping animals pinned up. It'd be a lot easier to just keep them where they're supposed to be instead of not knowing if you're going to lose a profit margin on that calf that year because you don't know where it ended up. Thank you.
Finally, as we get to the end of our presentation, I will be discussing our informed opinions collectively. We came to the understanding on why farmers and ranchers decided to switch to conventional farming after weather affected their animals. Another thing is free range was not an option because of safety concerns like livestock wandering off the farm or predators harming the animals. Pasture raised has more health benefits, however, still not by a significant amount to be concerned for nutritional value. Lastly, sometimes it benefits the animal more to not be pasture raised or free range because they're in a controlled environment. And here are our references and resources that we used for our presentation. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day.